With Tuesday's election results still trickling out due to the shit show that was the Iowa caucus, I think we're currently at 71% of the results. New details have come out about the developer of the app that caused the meltdown. Now, the app was created, as I've reported before, by a company called Shadow Incorporated. Now, it is a for profit software firm that says its mission is to, quote, build political power for the progressive movement by developing affordable and easy to use tools for teams and budgets of any size, which makes me question what exactly the Iowa Democratic Party budget was when doing this app. So now, obviously, the use of this app was a disastrous decision, but that decision was apparently based on not the usefulness of the app or obviously the technical abilities of the app or even the talent of the programmers. No, it apparently is based on connections with Democratic Party officials. So let's go through that. Now, the New York Times reported that after the rollout of this, many precinct chiefs had trouble simply downloading the app. Now, there is a reason for that. It's fairly easy to download an app onto your phone, unless you're a complete Luddite or somebody that's just not comfortable with technology or hasn't learned. It's fairly easy, right? So now, these people who are caucus chairs, well, they generally know what they're doing. However, they were notified of the app, uh, well, about a month prior, and then were told how to use it 3 days before. So again, they knew how to do it, and so they still had problems being able to download it. And the reason is that the app was not deployed through traditional app stores, according to Motherboard, or even sideloaded using an enterprise certificate. Instead, it was deployed through mobile testing platforms, including Apple's Test Flight and a similar service that services both iOS and Android called Test Fairy. Both platforms are for apps that are not yet finalized. Well, now why are we using a non-finalized app for a caucus in Iowa? One of the most actually probably it's the first state, so it's super super important, right? Not for delegate counts or anything like that, but actually for momentum, campaign momentum, and media coverage, right? So why would you release an app that's not even tested, not even finalized through this, and it has uh, a lot of errors? Now, the app was also distributed using Test Fairy platform's free tier and is not its enterprise one, which deletes any app data after 30 days. How convenient, right? And limits the number of test users that can access the app to 200. I'm pretty sure there were more than 200 that needed to use that app. I'm just saying. Oh my God. All right. So now, as a result, multiple caucus chairs reported problems with not only maintaining the app, but of course logging in. Uh, and so, with this app failing, they had to switch to their backups. They had to switch to the phones. Well, the phones also started failing. And then at that point, pretty much everything fell apart. As a result, caucus goers were there for hours and backup systems had to be deployed. Now, look, joining a caucus already is basically an old day commitment, right? Where you apparently can't bring your own food, water. You have to stand basically in that caucus area for a long time, hours and hours and hours, right? With these delays, it got even worse for the caucus goers and mostly for the volunteers and the chairs. So now there were backup systems, right? And that's where we're getting the numbers from now. But as we can see, it's an incredibly slow process. So the app, of course, was obviously not ready for release. It hadn't been tested, hadn't been completed, had a lot of coding errors, and by the way, was an absolute mess. And the company itself, Shadow Inc., was like, yo, our bad, dog. We're sorry. We're totally, totally, and completely sorry. Okay, so with all of that established, Who thought that was a good idea? And the answer there is super important. It turns out that there was a company that has some ties to Democratic Party officials. So now the owner, or I should say the investor in Shadow Inc., was Acronym. So now Acronym is ran by co-chair and Democratic operative Tara McGowan. So now McGowan, when the chaos started in Iowa, was like, oh, no. Acronym funds a lot of different companies. And Shadow's just a really small part of our investments. And in fact, they've got so many other investors as well. However, according to internal company documents and sources close to the firms and public records, Acronym actually worked really closely with Shadow Inc. In fact, they even share office space in Denver, Colorado. Again, oops. Last year, McGowan wrote on Twitter that she was so excited to announce Acronym has acquired Groundbase, a firm that included their incredible team led by Gerard Namera, plus are launching Shadow, a new tech company to build smarter infrastructure for campaigns. McGowan also noted that with Shadow, we're building a new model incentivized by adoption over growth. In an interview on a related podcast last month, McGowan described Namira as the CEO of Shadow, which is the technology company that Acronym is the sole investor in now. Sole investor in Shadow. Not only that, but you also have a person with knowledge of company culture who asked to remain anonymous for fear of reprisal, shared communication showing the top officials at the company regularly expressed hostility to Senator Bernie Sanders and his supporters. So there's your political bias, right? McGowan was also married to Michael Hale, a senior strategist in the Buttigieg campaign. And according to Lee Fong over at The Intercept, and this is just his, him writing this article, right? He says that there's no evidence of any preference of candidates that had any effect on the coding issue that is stalling the Iowa results. I don't know for sure, right? There's a lot of coincidences, okay? But with Pete declaring victory and holding a small lead, with about 71% of the vote counted, he is getting all the media buzz and attention that was reserved for the winner. And so he continues going out there and saying, this was a victory, this was a victory. The media is reporting on that as well. And so, I mean, that is an important part of the context. Whether or not that was just, Pete just taking advantage of the situation, as he is somebody who would absolutely do something like that. Let's be honest. Or a calculated effort, who knows? I certainly don't. But more on Shadow here. The Iowa Democratic Party and the Nevada Democratic Party, who, by the way, has backed off from use of this app, had retained Shadow to develop the Caucus app. Shadow had been retained also for digital services by Buttigieg's and Biden's campaign. Well, now, it didn't turn out well for Biden. Now, Biden had actually paid Shadow over $1,000 for text messaging services back in July. Buttigieg, however, Buttigieg's campaign had paid them $42,500 for software-related services back in July. And look, it's not like this is the only thing that Shadow does. It's just the main thing that they're kind of known for now. So now we have other connections here to figures who might also not be so impartial, right? Shadow was launched by former staffers to Hillary Clinton's 2016 presidential campaign. Along with Namira, you also have Krista Davis, Anna Rao, and James Hickey. Now, Acronym, which includes a hybrid model of a 501c4 entity that does not disclose donors and a super PAC that does, it has also been a favorite for deep-pocketed Democratic donors, Donald Sussman, the founder of Paloma Partners, and Michael Moritz, a partner at Sequoia Capital. They, of course, also not fans of Bernie Sanders or progressives. They each donated $1 million to Acronym last year. A filmmaker, Steven Spielberg, had also gave $500,000 And investor Seth Klarman, once a major donor to Republican causes, gave $1.5 million to Acronym. So all these people, most of them have ties to the Democratic Party and with Hillary Clinton and have given big money. So this company then develops an app, right? Deploys it for a very important first in the nation Iowa caucus. And with that app being untested, incomplete, and given to people 3 days before the caucus to figure it out, fails uncontrollably, causes a massive clusterfuck in which Pete Buttigieg takes advantage of in order to boost himself. That is a massive amount of both coincidence and complete and total incompetence. You have corruption, what appears to be, self-dealing, like being able to, help your buddies in the Democratic Party with your business. Hey, oh, look, we just happen to have all this money for contracts for this app. Well, I know you're a friend. We both served Hillary Clinton together. Well, I'm going to contract your company now to develop this app. You get money, we all get paid, and everything's great. That's probably what happened. I don't know if necessarily they planned this in order to steal the election. It seems rather strange of an idea because in reality, you have backups. Now, I'm not saying that they didn't do that, but I'm not saying for certain that we can prove that they did. And so, look, I think they rewarded themselves. I think they gave them their friends fat contracts in order to develop these apps. And so, yeah, it's greed. Now, for Pete Buttigieg is an opportunist. He's going to do anything that he can to try to win. He's not going to win, but he still declared himself a winner because, hey, that helps him get a bump. He needed to be first or second in Iowa, and it looks like he was going to get second anyway. And so here we go. He now gets more access to wine caves and to more donors, and so he can continue his race. Again, I don't think he's going to do very well. I think Bernie Sanders is still set up to be a front runner now that Joe Biden did so terribly. And I'm also not saying the DNC isn't corrupt. Absolutely, they are. They're corrupt in almost all the stupidest ways imaginable. In reality, this is going to hurt the DNC and hurt trust in the DNC even more than before. So it just seems like it's stupid. But as usual, we're not going to know the answers. And with Democrats, or any elected official or any person looking to make a buck, you just got to follow the money. Hey guys, hopefully you enjoyed that free video. Now I'm going to have to ask you a favor. Between the demonetization and the YouTube algorithm messing around with view counts, etc., we're having a hard time adjusting to the new YouTube reality, which is where you guys come in. See, we have a patreon.com/TYTNation set up to help us rely on you guys, the viewers, instead of big corporate ads. Look, you know the show. You know how I'm not in favor of big corporations anyway. So help us transition away from relying on the ad model to pay the bills and sign up to be a patron, patreon.com/TYTNation. That goes a long way to help us keep the lights on. And you guys will know that you're supporting independent progressive media.